What's up, Bronx? How y'all doing tonight? Today. How y'all doing? Feel the bird. Feel the bird. I want to thank you guys for coming in today. Like, really. You guys have no idea how happy I am to see you guys here and how excited I am that you guys consistently show up for Bernie Sanders. So my name is Jacqueline Thomas, and I am the Bronx Regional Field Director for the Bernie Sanders campaign. Oh, thank you. Hey. So I just want to thank you guys again. I can't thank you enough. And I'm also so proud to work for someone who I believe is a once-in-a-lifetime candidate. And in being a once-in-a-lifetime candidate, that means that now, until April 19th, is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. We absolutely cannot spoil this opportunity. Bernie Sanders often speaks about this being a political revolution, right? But you can't have a political revolution without political revolutionaries. So that means we need every last one of you to be a part of this campaign. One thing that I've noticed since I've been in New York working for the campaign, I started back in January, is that you guys' activism is amazing. Like the grassroots activism, you guys have your own teams, you're doing it big, to put it mildly. What we're asking you guys to do is to work with the campaign so that we can consolidate our efforts to make his presidency a reality. We need this man in office. We need this man in office. So that means sometimes doing the not so glamorous things, which I'm so proud to do, and what I love field. Field means knocking on the doors, talking to people who we know are registered voters, making sure they understand what Bernie Sanders stands for, making sure they know his platform, making sure that we are talking to the people and getting them out to the polls on election day. My biggest fear is waking up April 20th and thinking we could have did one more door. We could have just did one more neighborhood. We could have recruited 10 more people. And I'm pretty sure you guys don't want to wake up on April 20th thinking the same. So that means that right now, as much as I love that you guys are here, as much as we love to have our signs, and we want to do our chants, and we're still going to do those chants. We're going to do them while we're knocking doors, while we're canvassing. We have to be involved. It won't work any other way. We will not win if we are not politically involved, politically engaged. So we also know that we are going against a machine, right? But what we lack in machinery, we make up with people. We make up with people, with heart. So we've opened up 2 offices in the Bronx. I'm very happy to say that. So we have one in the Northeast Bronx, which is 2704 Williamsbridge Road. Small office, but hey, we need your help, so please go out. We're there from 10 to 9 every single day. Rain, shine, monsoon, we're there. Please come in and volunteer. And we also have another office in the South Bronx, which is 3007 3rd Avenue, 4 blocks from the hub. So please come out. Please come out, volunteer. Outside, you'll see sign-up forms where you can sign up to do canvassing, phone banking. You can host your own events. Come and get materials. We can do a training with you, make it as easy and as fun as possible, and also meet other people who love Bernie just as much as you do, okay? So you guys are gonna volunteer, right? You're gonna put some time in? Okay. Well, thank you guys so much for having us, and thank you guys for, again, showing up for Bernie, a once-in-a-lifetime candidate. And I want to introduce to you guys the 86th Bronx Assemblyman, Luis Sepulveda.
Are we feeling the burn? Are we feeling the burn? Wow, this is beautiful. You know, I keep hearing how Bernie Sanders is only supported by white men. I see again this beautiful mosaic of people from all walks of life. It's interesting that we're here at a CUNY institution when this institution at one time was recognized as an institution that was free merit-based tuition. And when Senator Sanders says, let's provide free college education in our public institution, he's criticized. First of all, I want to say bienvenidos al Condado de la Salsa. It's really an honor and a pleasure for me to be here today supporting Senator Sanders. Today, I look at you, many of you, young men and women, that will carry the mantle for the future for this country. I have a 24-year-old son who I'm very proud of and is up there on the top floor. And yes, thank you. And I'm happy to say that he is also feeling the burn. Now, today it is you, the generation, that's going to lead our country. I'm sorry to say that for many of you, for our next generation, you will be one of the first generations that will have a lower earnings capacity, a lower per capita income than the prior generation. And we have to change this trajectory in the country. And this is why we have to elect Bernie Sanders. Now, at the very beginning of the process, was asked time and again, who are you going to support for president of this country? Is there any other choice? You know, I said, let's think about this slowly. Let's analyze the record of both candidates. And after I did my thorough analysis, I said, there's no other candidate that I can support. It has to be Bernie Sanders. Now, I represent the Bronx. I believe the Bronx, it's one of the greatest places in the world. I've raised one 24-year-old. I'm raising a 4-year-old. And I can't think of any other place than to raise my family than here in the Bronx. But we have our issues here in the Bronx. We have chronic unemployment here. Only about 62% of our children are graduating from high school. We rank 62nd out of 62 in terms of healthcare problems here in the state of New York. And so when you look at all these issues, you ask yourself, what candidate is speaking to those issues? What candidate touches your heart? What candidate has promised to tackle those issues from the very first day that he becomes the president of this country? That is why there's no other choice but Bernie Sanders. While other candidates were supporting policies that led to the mass incarceration of Black and Latino men in this country, while other candidates supported policies that with a stroke of a pen led to millions and millions of minority children in abject poverty, Bernie Sanders said, let's tackle this issue and create a fair economic system in this country. Bernie Sanders says, let's provide a path for these black and Latino men who went to prison or have been disenfranchised. Let's create a program that we can re-enfranchise these men and have them become productive members of our society. When we talk about immigration in this country, Bernie Sanders is the only candidate who agrees that not only should we maintain President Obama's DACA program, but we should expand that program so that kids that have been here for 5 years can live in this country without fear. So that kids, immigrant children in this country that have been here can access the DREAM Act and funds so they can go to college. We talk about economic policy and everything begins and ends with education in this country. Name me one other candidate says that not only should we give UPK to some students, but we should provide UPK funding for the entire country so that all children can have universal pre-K and get a head start. And when we talk about the fear that many of our undocumented immigrants have in this country, he says, let's take down these inhumane detention centers and let's provide a track for citizenship for these individuals, over $11 million who live in the dark of this country. That is what Bernie Sanders is about. When we talk about health care, he says, let's provide universal health care. In this country, everyone should have the right to health care. It is a civil rights issue. When we talk about family values, Bernie Sanders says, let's provide 12 weeks of paid family medical leave for people in this country. When we talk about, again, incarceration of black men and Latino men in this country, Bernie Sanders says, let's bar these for-profit prisons in this country. Now, ladies and gentlemen, these are issues that are dear to me here as a representative of the poorest county in the entire United States. No one is speaking to these issues. Others have decided to come on board and adopt part of the agenda that Bernie has brought forth. But let there be no doubt, this is a pivotal moment in our history. This is a pivotal moment, especially for you young men and women that are the future leaders of this country. It is a pivotal moment that requires all of you to give 100% to make sure that we take the correct path in this beautiful country of ours. It is a pivotal moment to make sure that all of you do not have to work longer hours and earn less money in this country. Now allow me 1 minute to indulge myself in an issue that's particularly important to me as a Puerto Rican of Puerto Rican descent. Are there any Puerto Ricans here today? As many of you may or may not know, Puerto Rico is being gouged by $70 billion in debt that is owed to the hedge fund and hedge fund managers in the United States. They're asking Puerto Ricans and the Puerto Rico government to cut services to the point where you won't be able to provide health care. You won't be able to provide sanitation services, where you will have a major health care crisis on the island of Puerto Rico. And I'm happy to say that Bernie provides the best plan to tackle that problem in Puerto Rico. Bernie is committed to spend over $5 trillion on Puerto Rico to provide and create 140,000 new jobs on the island. That is leadership. That is progress. A mis amigos latinos, quiero decirle, estamos en un momento muy importante en la nación. en la historia de los Estados Unidos. Tenemos que asegurar que el próximo presidente de esta nación esté consciente de la pobreza y el sufrimiento de muchos de nosotros aquí en esta nación, aquí en el Bronx y en Puerto Rico. El único candidato que ha aprobado una agenda progresiva para pelear en contra de estos problemas en la isla, aquí en los Estados Unidos y la pobreza, es Bernie Sanders. So I tell you again, from the heart, for you future generations, for my 24-year-old, for my 4-year-old, it is critical that we all give everything that we can so that we go on the right path and elect Bernie Sanders, the next president of the United States. Thank you, and God bless. Thank you. Bernie, 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 Bernie. Thank you. And now let me introduce the president of this wonderful institution, a man who's going to lead Bronx Community College for many years, I hope. The great president of Bronx Community College, Eddie Bayudal.
Muchísimas gracias, Luis. But folks, I just got promoted. I'm vice president. But that's okay, I'll take it for today. But seriously, on behalf of President Thomas Sekenekbe, it's my pleasure to welcome you to Bronx Community College. It is truly one of the hidden treasures in the Bronx. This very building you're in, the Gould Memorial Library, dates back to 1899 and was built by the great architect Sanford White. It's because of his vision that we received National Landmark designation. And just a few weeks ago, it was selected by the Preservation League of New York as one of 7 to save. While we champion our history and distinctive heritage, it's the future that drives BCC. As an institution of higher learning, BCC provides a brighter future for more than 11,000 students each year. And representing 100 countries. And while the Bronx's star is deservedly rising, we are still economically the poorest congressional district in the country, making BCC a beacon of hope and opportunity for this community. Now, there are folks who wonder why politics and the political process matter, but we are well aware of it here at BCC. Politics brings us legislation like the DREAM Act and deferred action against undocumented child immigrants, which enabled BCC's 2015 valedictorian, Kirsy Martinez, to stay in this country, graduate, and now she's attending a 4-year institution. It means that with financial aid, our BCC students can be the first in their families to get a college education. And become productive participants in business and our economy. It means that through conservation and preservation measures, that we can protect the very building we're in right now. It means that we can help build the next generation of leaders for this community and for our country. Politics matter at BCC, and it is why we are so honored to host today's event with presidential candidate Senator Bernie Sanders. And now I'd like to introduce our next speaker, Justin Bartha. He's an actor, writer, and producer, best known for his role as Doug Billings in The Hangover. Yeah, I've seen all of it. He's the one who goes missing and who the Wolfpack friends are frantically searching. Well, BCC found him. We found him.
Thank you. Hello, beautiful people. Oh man, what's up, Bronx? This is awesome. My name is Justin Bartha. Some of you might be thinking, why the hell is this guy talking to us? What could this white, privileged, incredibly handsome and charming Hollywood actor possibly know or care about the struggle of the middle class and the policies needed to help? Or you could just be thinking, hey, I found Doug. Well, let me be the first to admit that I am by no means a seasoned political pundit, or a public intellectual, or a private intellectual, or an expert on anything, really. But I can tell you this, I am not a Hollywood actor. I am a New York actor. I am also a proud husband, a father, and a U.S. citizen who cares deeply about the future of this country. I also happen to possess the one quality that I believe every single person in attendance today possesses, a quality that unites our two highly qualified Democratic candidates while distinguishing them from the not even remotely close to qualified and frankly kind of creepy Republican candidates. And that quality is empathy. This empathy forces me to speak up for those less fortunate than I. This empathy allows me to be angered by the lies and the selfishness and the corruption and to search for a champion who is honest and forthright and brilliant and inspiring and willing to fight for the best interests of every single person in this country. And that champion is Bernie Sanders. Now, they only gave me like 3 minutes, hold on. Now, as a professional actor, the one thing I do know is a good story. And the story that I keep hearing says that Bernie Sanders may be inspiring. He may be the only candidate that in either party who is actually trusted or even liked. But what he's offering is just a pipe dream. Their story says it'll never happen. It says that he dreams too big. It says that what he's proposing is too expensive, too unrealistic. It says, sure, we all admire his philosophy, but philosophy doesn't run the country. Policy runs the country. But there's always one important thing missing from their story. One character I never hear about from the opponents and the cynics, and that character is you, the people. It's what millions of Bernie supporters understand that the cynics say could never happen. It's demanding that the policy is actually dictated by the people. The people want a living wage, but they say it's a pipe dream. Not in New York, it's happening. The people want health care for every man, woman, and child, but they say that's just not realistic. Well, Obamacare is a step in the right direction. It's happening. It's exactly what they said about electing a black president, exactly what they said about gay rights, exactly what they say about anything that seems too bold. But I'm here to say this. Why not listen to what the people want, be bold, and try? Why not try for free public college? Why not try for universal health care, a federal $15 minimum wage, comprehensive prison reform, comprehensive banking reform, better trade deals, ban fracking, and repressive Reagan-era drug policies? Hell, end repressive Reagan-era economic policies. Why not try? Now, we all know why certain cynics don't want to try. They've made it clear that they're pro-Hillary, and that is fine. It's fine because the people in this crowd understand that the cynic story is not dictated by the people, but by the millionaires and billionaires. They are the ones telling that story. They are the ones who happen to own a majority stake in the newspaper where that story is printed, which makes their story rigged. Just like our economy, just like our schools, just like our campaigns, it's rigged and the status quo is broken. But we finally have a candidate bold enough to try to fix it. So we just have to keep fighting for him because we know he'll fight for us. The ones with empathy. So why am I here? Because I am a proud U.S. citizen. I am a proud New Yorker, damn proud of his New York values. And I want to remind you that when the cynics say being bold won't work, look around you. It's already working. It's happening. And if we stick together, we can all help translate Bernie's philosophy, which is the people's philosophy, into policy and create a world where the will of the people isn't just a pipe dream, but a bold, beautiful reality. Thank you. Thank you so much, Bronx. I love you all. Thank you for having me and listening to me.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage New York actress and surrogate, Susan Sarandon.
Wow. My people, so happy to be here with you. I've been all over the United States with Bernie, and it is so moving to see everyone so engaged. But now I'm here, and you're here. And this is the moment, guys. This is what we've been working towards. This is, as you know, you can't get much better than this in terms of history. This isn't going to happen again in my lifetime, for sure. And I'm so happy for all you kids that get to vote in this election and be activists and tell your kids that you're on the right side of history when this man was given to us as some kind of a miracle. We will never have another person, unless we get rid of Citizen United, who can work within the government and still have a soul and not be bought and can represent us as his one issue. And I am so pleased to be here. And what we have to do is just make sure, because it means so much to have somebody that does the right thing at the right time, not later when it's easy, not apologize later when you've made a big mistake like voting for the war. No, not get on to, LGBT rights when it's cool to come out for marriage when it's passed, or the $15 minimum wage when you already have it. Not to get behind no fracking when we've already passed it. We need to stop selling fracking when you're all over the world. We need to, so to have a candidate who is here for us and who is so brave and so clear and all of you that have the imagination to understand that this is possible and the work ethic to get out there and do it. And that's what we have to do now, is just push a little bit further. Everyone's watching New York now. And before, it maybe hasn't seemed so important because we knew the way it would go, but now we have a choice and we have the opportunity, and it's so exciting to be able to say, we are going to do something different. We're in a revolution. We are in a revolution. And without spending any more time, I'm going to give you the guy that you've been coming here to see, that we all believe in, that's going to make the difference. Bernie Sanders.
This looks like an audience that wants a political revolution. Let me begin by thanking Susan Sarandon. All of you know Susan is one of our great actors in this country, but you may not know her. She has spent years of her life fighting for economic, environmental, racial, and social justice, and I just want to thank her very much for all that she has done. I want to thank Justin Bartha for all of his work, and Eddie Bayardel and Louis Sepulveda and Jacqueline Thomas for their help as well in their introductions. Let me begin by telling you what momentum is about and why our friends in the Clinton camp are getting a little bit nervous. Well, I'm wrong. They're getting very nervous. You know, when we began this campaign about 11 months ago, we were 3% in the polls and about 60, 65, 70 points behind Secretary Clinton. The last three national polls had two of them us ahead and one behind by 1 point. Here in New York State, where we were way, way behind, she was the senator here for 8 years. That gap has closed. We are in striking distance here in New York. We're doing great in Pennsylvania, great in California. I think we have the momentum in this campaign, and if we can win here in New York State, it'll be a huge step forward. And we can do it. What? Okay, let me say a word on Bernie. And that is this. I'm the only candidate for president who will tell you a simple truth, is that no president, not Bernie Sanders or anybody else, can do it alone. What we need, this is not just about me, it is about a political movement. It is about millions of people standing up and stating loudly and clearly, enough is enough. That our government belongs to all of us and not just a handful of wealthy campaign contributors. Secretary Clinton and I have some very serious differences of opinions. And one of the differences that we have, which is of enormous consequence, is our belief about the role of money in a campaign. I had to make a choice when we began this campaign as to whether or not we would do what every other campaign does, have a super PAC, raise money from corporate America, Wall Street, and the wealthy and the powerful. We thought about that for about 1/10 of a second. And we decided that was not what we were going to do. And what we did, and this is revolutionary, no one has ever done this yet, we have now raised over 6 million individual campaign contributions. Averaging $27 apiece. So what we have already done is shown the world that we can run a winning national campaign without having to beg Wall Street or corporate America for money. We are therefore free to do what has to be done. Secretary Clinton has chosen another path. She has several super PACs. Her largest one recently reported they have raised $25 million from special interests, including $15 million from Wall Street. Secretary Clinton, as you all know, has also given a whole lot of speeches on Wall Street for $250,000 a speech. Now, I have long thought that if you're going to be paid $250,000 for a speech, it must be an extraordinary speech, don't you think? It must be a mind-blowing speech. It must be a speech that will probably solve all of the problems in the world, written in Shakespearean prose. So I believe that a speech that great, that consequential, should be released to the public. Let the world see it. Secretary Clinton has said, well, she is prepared to release the transcripts if other people do it, so I have a dramatic announcement to make right here. I am prepared to release all of the transcripts of all of the speeches that I've given to Wall Street. Are you ready? Here they are. You got them? There's nothing there. No speeches, not for $250,000, not for $2, none of them. Now, there's another issue that we have a very consequential difference of opinion on, and that is in 2002, I was in the House. Secretary Clinton was in the Senate then, representing New York. There was a vote, maybe the most important foreign policy vote that has taken place in our modern history, and that was on the war in Iraq. I listened very closely to what Bush had to say, to what Cheney had to say, to what Rumsfeld had to say, to what all these guys had to say. And I concluded that they were not telling the truth. I voted against that war. Secretary Clinton heard the same evidence that I did. She voted for the war. But it's not just that. I don't know if some of you saw it. A few months ago, we had a debate somewhere, and she was talking about her pride, I guess, in receiving kind words from Henry Kissinger as to how she had run the State Department. Well, I happen to think that Henry Kissinger was probably the most destructive Secretary of State in our lifetimes. He has a lot of blood on his hand. That's the simple truth. So let me say to Henry Kissinger, please do not ever say anything nice about me. I don't want your support. I have opposed all of the disastrous trade agreements that have come down the pike, which have cost us millions of decent-paying jobs. Secretary Clinton has supported virtually all of them. All of you know that we have a growing crisis in terms of clean water in this state, in this country. I am very opposed to fracking. Secretary Clinton actually was very aggressive in pushing fracking when she was Secretary of State to countries around the world. So we have a difference on that as well. Now, the reason, there's one other difference that is important that hasn't gotten attention. I hope it does get some media attention. And that is our views on Social Security. I believe that a country is judged not by how many millionaires and billionaires it has, not by the size of its military. It is judged by how it treats the weakest and most vulnerable people amongst us. And I'll tell you, if you use that criteria, we are not doing anything that we should be proud of. Today in America, the richest country in the history of the world, we have the highest rate of childhood poverty of almost any major country on earth. About 20% of our kids are living in poverty. In the African American and Latino communities, those numbers are much higher than that. And then, that's right. That is not what this country should be about, with record-breaking levels of childhood poverty compared to other countries around the world. Furthermore, how do we treat our seniors? Again, this is not something the media talks about at all for whatever reason. And that is, we have millions of seniors in this country who are trying to make it on $11,000 or $12,000 Social Security. And you know what? Nobody can make it on $11,000, $12,000 Social Security. There are seniors in my own state of Vermont, in New York State, all over this country, people who cannot adequately heat their homes in the winter, who are dividing up the prescription drugs, the medicine, the pills they get, dividing them in half because they don't have enough money to buy the medicine that they need. They're not eating adequately. These are the people who built this country, our parents and our grandparents. We should not be treating them like this. Now, in response to the fact that millions of elderly people and disabled veterans are trying to get by on totally inadequate Social Security benefits, our Republican colleagues in the Senate are responding as the way they usually do, given the crisis. Their response is, let's cut Social Security and give tax breaks to billionaires, obviously. Well, I got bad news for them. Not only are we not going to cut Social Security, we're going to raise Social Security benefits. Now, how do you do that? How do you do that? Well, at a time of massive income and wealth inequality, where the people on top are doing phenomenally well, while the middle class continues to decline, the solution is a pretty simple solution, one supported by many of the senior groups out there representing millions of seniors. It's not a complicated solution. Right now, you got millionaires contributing the same amount of money into Social Security as somebody making $118,000 a year. There's a cap. You lift that cap, and you don't even have to start at 118, go up to 250,000 and above. You do that, we can extend the life of Social Security from the 19 years it is right now to 58 years. And we can increase Social Security benefits for seniors making less than $16,000 a year by $1,300 a year, a significant increase. So I believe that at a time when the rich are getting much richer, yes, they should be asked to contribute more into the Social Security Trust Fund by lifting that cap. And I would ask Secretary Clinton to join me in making it clear to the people of this country that that is what she supports. This campaign is doing well. because we have the guts to tackle the real issues facing the American people. Issue number one, we have a corrupt campaign finance system which is undermining American democracy. Democracy is one person, one vote, not billionaires being able to buy elections. And that is why we are going to overturn this disastrous Citizens United Supreme Court decision. Democracy is about everybody in this country, 18 years of age or older, having the right to vote. And that is why we're going to take on these Republican governors who are trying to suppress the vote, making it harder for people to vote. But it is not only a corrupt campaign finance system, it is a rigged economy. I would like everybody to ask themselves whether they think it is moral, acceptable, sustainable, when the top 1/10% in this country, 1/10%, now owns almost as much wealth as the bottom 90%. In America today, you got families out there where mom's working, dad's working, kids are working, and at the end of the day, despite the fact that our people in this country today work the longest hours of any people in the industrialized world. The Japanese work very hard. We work longer hours now than the people of Japan. Despite all of that hard work, 58% of all new income is going to the top 1%. You want a radical idea? It's not really so radical. We're going to create an economy that works for all of us, not just the 1%. Hillary Clinton wants to raise the minimum wage to $12 an hour. That's good. I want to raise it to $15 an hour. I want pay equity for women workers who should not be making 79 cents on the dollar. Today, women on average make 79 cents on the dollar. African American and Latino women make much less than that. Women of this country want the whole damn dollar, and that's what they deserve. When we talk about economics, please understand that real unemployment in America is not 5%. That's the official rate. Real unemployment is double that. In minority communities, far, far higher than that. When you have real unemployment, 10, 12%, we need a massive federal jobs program. The best way to do it is to rebuild our crumbling infrastructure. I was in Flint, Michigan 6-7 weeks ago, and what I saw there and what I heard from people there was literally beyond comprehension. It was hard for me to imagine that I was talking to people in the United States of America in the year 2016 who were describing to me how their children were being poisoned and impacted through cognitive capabilities by the lead in the water they were drinking. But it's not just Flint. All over this country, we have water systems where the water is totally inadequate. We have wastewater plants not working well. We have roads, bridges in my state. Many of our bridges are in disrepair. Our rail system used to be the best in the world, most modern in the world, no longer the case. Airports, way antiquated. We have levees and dams that need an enormous amount of work. We're going to invest $1 trillion in rebuilding our infrastructure, create 13 million decent-paying jobs. And when we have a major crisis in public education today, we're going to be hiring teachers, not firing teachers. And we're going to end the dysfunctional, inadequate child care system that we have today and make sure that every parent in this country knows that when he or she goes to work, they're leaving their kids in high-quality child care. This campaign is listening to people who are often not heard from. We are listening to our brothers and sisters in the Latino community. And they are telling us that with 11 million undocumented in this country, where people are being exploited because they have no legal rights, being paid for less than the minimum wage, not getting a fair paycheck, that they want, and I want, comprehensive immigration reform and a path toward citizenship. And if the Congress does not do its job, we'll do it for them through use of the executive powers in the presidency. This campaign is listening to the African American community. And they are asking me, how does it happen? How does it happen that we can spend trillions of dollars on a war in Iraq that we never should have gotten into, and yet inner cities from one end of this country to the other are falling apart? How does it happen that in minority communities people can't get affordable housing and gentrification is wiping out neighborhoods? How does it happen that the school buildings are falling apart and we're not attracting the quality teachers that our kids deserve? How does it happen that African American youth unemployment and underemployment today is 51%? And how does it happen that we have more people in jail than any other country on earth, disproportionately African American, Latino, and Native American? What we are going to do, not a radical idea, this is a commonsensical idea. We're going to invest in our young people in jobs and education, not jails and incarceration. And we are going to reform a very, very broken criminal justice system. I am tired, and you are tired, of seeing videos on television of unarmed people, often minorities, being shot. Now, I was a mayor for 8 years, worked very closely with my local police department. I work with police all over this country. Vast majority of police officers are honest, hardworking, trying to do a very difficult job. That's a fact. It's a very difficult job. But when a police officer, like any other public official, breaks the law, that officer must be held accountable. We need to develop We need, through a lot of training, to develop a culture within police departments which says that lethal force is the last resort, not the first resort. We need to demilitarize local police departments so they don't look like occupying armies. We need to make local police departments look like the diversity of the communities they are serving. We need to end privately owned prisons and detention centers. Corporations should not be making money by getting more people into jail. That's wrong. We need to rethink the so-called war on drugs. Over the last 30 years, millions of Americans have received police records for possession of marijuana. Today, under the Federal Controlled Substance Act, marijuana is listed as a Schedule I drug right next to heroin. I agree. And that is why I've introduced legislation to take marijuana out of the Federal Controlled Substance Act. And when we talk about drugs, I don't have to tell anybody in this room, we have an epidemic, a tragic epidemic of heroin and opiate addiction in my state, in your state, and throughout this country. Every day, people are dying of overdoses. This is a crisis that has got to be addressed. And the best way to address it is to understand that drug addiction and substance abuse should be seen as a health issue, not a criminal issue. You know, often I am asked which of the issues is the most important, and you can't really say that because all of these issues are of extraordinary consequence. But here's one that is not just an American issue. It is a global issue. I'm a member of the U.S. Senate Committee on the Environment. I've talked to scientists all over the world. And anyone who tells you that climate change is not real, is not caused by human activity, is lying to you. That's exactly what is happening. And what the scientists are also telling us is that a crisis today will only get much, much worse in years to come if we do not act boldly, if we do not transform our energy system away from fossil fuel to energy efficiency and sustainable energy. This is a life and death global issue. We have a moral responsibility to leave this planet for future generations in a way that is healthy and habitable. And to do that, we are going to have to take on, big time, the fossil fuel industry. An industry that thinks its short-term profits are more important than the future of this planet. Sorry, guys, you're wrong. That ain't gonna happen. Now, I've been criticized for saying this throughout this campaign, so let me say it again. It is my very strong belief that health care is a right of all people, not a privilege. We have made progress under the Affordable Care Act, and I'm on the committee that helped write that. We've done away with so-called pre-existing conditions. We have extended insurance to about 17 plus million people more. We have done away with discrimination in terms of pricing for health care plans that women were experiencing. But what we have to recognize is we remain the only major country on earth that does not guarantee health care to all people. We have to recognize that 29 million people today in America have no health insurance. Many of you have insurance, but you're underinsured with high deductibles and co-payments. And every day, we are all getting ripped off by the greed of the pharmaceutical industry. Who are charging us the highest prices in the world for the medicine that we need. And that is why I believe that we need to move toward a Medicare for all single-payer program. Everybody in this room knows that change never takes place from the top on down. It's not a president signing a document. It is millions of people demanding that that document be signed. Change takes place when 100 plus years ago, workers said to their employers, we're not beasts of burden, we're not going to work 7 days a week, you're not going to fire us arbitrarily, we are going to form trade unions. Change has taken place throughout our history, and how painful and bloody it has been when the African American community and their allies said that in America we will not accept segregation, racism, and bigotry. And how many people over the years died in that struggle, and who they were and what their names are, we will never know. But that was the struggle that involved, over the years, millions and millions of people fighting to end racism in America. And let me just remind people here, because we easily forget this, 100 years ago today, women in America did not have the right to vote, did not have the right to go to the schools they wanted to, or do the work they wanted 100 years ago. Not a long time. But what women did, and their male allies, they stood up, they fought back, and they said, in America, women will not be second-class citizens. And if we were here 10 years ago, which is no time at all from an historical perspective, somebody jumps up and says, you know, Bernie, I think that in the year 2015, gay marriage will be legal in 50 states in this country. I doubt that anybody in this room would have believed that that would have been possible. But what happened, and all of you are aware of this is a contemporary issue. The gay community, with their straight allies, fought back against incredible bigotry, which we see today. You're seeing it in Mississippi, you're seeing it in North Carolina. Incredible bigotry and hatred, but said as loud and clearly as they could that in America, people must have the right to love whoever they want, regardless of their gender. And let me give you, as I mentioned earlier, what we are seeing, my point here is what media and Congress and the establishment want you to believe is the status quo is made in concrete. That's the way it is. You know, you have massive levels of income and wealth inequality. That's the way it is. You got kids in the Bronx who are going to schools that are falling apart. Well, that's the way it is. We've always had poor people. 1 out of 4 kids in a neighborhood I was in the Bronx last week has asthma. from breathing the crap that's in the air. All right? It's the way it is. You can't change that. Young people are leaving college, $30,000, $50,000, $70,000 in debt. That's the way it is. Can't change it. We're the only country in the industrialized world without health care or paid family and medical leave. Can't change it. That's concrete. That's the way it is. That is the way it always will be. Don't think you could change anything. You don't have to vote. You don't have to stand up. Don't fight back. People who have the money and the power, they've got it now. They will always have it. They will always make the decisions. But some of us respectfully disagree. We have looked at history, and we know we can make change. We can make real change. And the latest example, as I mentioned earlier, and I want you to think about it. If we were here 5 years ago, no time at all, and somebody said that the minimum wage would be $15 an hour in states all over this country, nobody would have believed it was possible. But as a result of the courage of workers in the fast food industry standing up and fighting back, that's happening. We can make change. But the way we make change is standing together and taking on the Donald Trumps of the world, who, like all of the demagogues, I mean, Trump didn't invent this. Don't give him that much credit. He's not that smart. You know, what demagogues have always understood is the way they win is by dividing the people up. Divide white from black from Latino. You divide Christians from Muslims, divide and conquer from Jews. You divide everybody up, gay from straight, women from men. We are not going to let Trump play that old and tired game. We know it. We are going to stand together. And the reason that Trump is not going to win is that Americans understand we are at our best and our strongest. We are proud of the diversity of this country. Our diversity makes us stronger. And we understand one profound message that every major religion on earth has taught us over the thousands of years, whether it is Christianity or Judaism or Islam, Buddhism, whatever that religion may be, and that is that at the end of the day, love always trumps hatred. Brothers and sisters, we are running an historic campaign, and we are on the way to pulling off the biggest political upset in the modern history of America. And crucial to that success is what happens here in the New York Democratic primary on April 19th. Now, here's what I've learned throughout this campaign. When voter turnouts are high, we just had a great turnout in Wisconsin the other day, we win. When voter turnouts are low, we lose. So I would ask all of you to make a concerted effort on April 19th to not only come out to vote, but bring your friends and your relatives and your coworkers. Let us show the world that the state of New York is prepared to go forward with a political revolution. Thank you all very much.